we're talking about the top 4 race, but Chelsea are not clear anymore of third. Arsenal are 3 points. Granted, I think Arsenal have got a pretty tricky schedule to see the season out. Spurs have a pretty tricky schedule to see the season out. I think in terms of Chelsea themselves, probably have the easier of the final games within the season, but still, it's no cakewalk for them. They have not been at their best in the last sort of, I guess, month or so, and it'll be interesting to see the way this starts to take shape. Now, LME, if you were I guess a betting man, do you think that there could be a potential sort of top 3 mix in this with Chelsea, or do you think this is about Spurs or Arsenal, and if so, like who do you think who needs it more, but who do you think actually finishes off? We can talk about who needs it more after, but.
Yeah, no, a very good question, my friend, and we're going to get into the Everton-Chelsea game, but you do bring up a good point. Chelsea's only 3 points above Arsenal. Arsenal, by the way, a really good job today over West Ham. Defensively, I was very impressed. After Arsenal went 2-1 up, and obviously I would, give us your comments on the Ramsdale-Jared Bowen situation, but defensively, it was very difficult for West Ham to break them down. Arsenal were very good, very resilient. It wasn't just a creative side. And that's something that I've been noticing a lot from Arsenal. To your point, obviously, they had to do the business after Tottenham took care of business of themselves against Leicester City. And the question for everybody, which is a good one, Heath Pierce, is like, what is happening now to Chelsea, of course? And I'm looking at that last game, by the way, not the last game, but the North London derby between Arsenal and Tottenham will be crucial. But now the remaining matches for Chelsea, they're going to face Wolves, away at Leeds, who are like scrambling to stay in the Premier League, of course. Then they got the FA Cup final. So how much is that going to be of a nuisance for them after they go for their own trophy there? Then they're hosting Leicester City and then at home to Watford. So, it is pretty interesting in terms of like the remaining schedule for them. Lukaku was not used at all today, Heath Pierce. So, I know that we're talking a lot about Chelsea right now, but they've got their own issues. And obviously the biggest one, which I think remains on the proverbial shoulders of every Chelsea personnel, which is what happened with Roman Abramovich and the sale. And I feel like Arsenal and Tottenham are taking full advantage of this now. And it's interesting. The goal differential between Chelsea and Arsenal is substantial. So I think that Chelsea should be fine with that third spot. It's really the fight for fourth, Heath Pierce. I think that the North London will dictate a lot of that. But I'll throw a question back to you and to everybody, Heath. Who needs this more, this fourth spot? Arsenal or Tottenham?
I mean, I'm trying to make this seem not selfish in terms of the way that I answer this, but I think Arsenal do. I think there's been this ebb and flow throughout the season. Don't get me wrong. Spurs have had the same ebb and flow, perhaps even worse in terms of the form of the season. Harry Kane, Heung-min Son, not being great to start the year, now being arguably one of the best players in the Premier League, at least over the last month or two. On who needs this more, and I think Spurs probably. Here's what I think. Arsenal need it more because I think it will justify the signings that they need to bring in to add to this youth and this crop and this sort of where they're at in this project. I think they really need that they need to get the Champions League to be able to do that, justify the spending. Whereas Spurs, I think Spurs are actually at a point that we saw in January of wanting to clean house with some of these players. I still think that Harry Kane could go in the summer, and perhaps they don't make those changes if they do qualify for Champions League. Maybe they do. I don't know. It just feels like for me, Arsenal need that to justify that moment, whereas Spurs, I think, are going to continue to go through this evolution of players change. So I guess they would need it just as much because of the funds and things like that. But for me, selfishly, and I guess non-selfishly, I think Arsenal need it the most just to justify what they've been doing, justify the fact that you can still get results with young players and inexperienced players on the field. And then for me as a fan, I want to see Arsenal in the Champions League, but I want to see a good Arsenal. I don't want to see an Arsenal that just finishes fourth and don't even make, Europa League or drop out of whatever. I want to see them going into that and then building a team that I think has, slowly getting better. If you look at if you look at Liverpool, you look at Man City, the year-over-year change isn't huge. It's sort of 1-2 players, surplus to requirements. Let's add pieces. Let's keep the core of the team together. Let's get the best out of those players. And I think both Arsenal and Spurs have the opportunity to do that. I don't think Spurs have the team of the future at the moment. I think they have the team of the now. And it could be the last ditch effort to get into the Champions League with those players before they move some of them on.
Yeah, it's a difficult question because it's all about.
I mean, I just talked myself in circles, by the way, for 3 minutes as to what's the more important. I mean, if I'm a Spurs fan, it's Spurs. If it's Arsenal, it's Arsenal. But for the teams themselves, I don't know the answer to that of who is this more important for the exact reasons that I just talked in circles on.
Yeah, no, but that's why it's a difficult question, right? Because on one side, Arsenal are relying on the fact of what Mikel Arteta said a while ago, which is be patient, Arsenal fans. We are building something and hopefully it will come to fruition. And that's, you would think, the moment right now. This is it. You gotta really grab this Champions League spot. This is very important for the project. Arsenal fans will say to themselves, we've been patient, Mikel Arteta. We are seeing what you're doing. It's looking good. But, the end product should be a Champions League spot. From a Tottenham perspective, it's less so much of a long project as opposed to this is why Antonio Conte is here. And if we don't get Champions League football, I'm a little bit worried about A, him and his future, and B, Harry Kane as well. I know that Rafa Cardenas just made a comment about no way Levy's going to let him go. Well, listen, I mean,
but isn't that the point?
Yeah. How long can you hold on to him for? I mean, unless obviously, can you turn down like 150 million from a Man City? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but Champions League football is very important for both teams for similar reasons, but coming from different perspectives.
But that's sort of and it's hard to say now because Harry Kane's in phenomenal form right now. So it's not an argument that's necessarily justified. But if you do go to Champions League, the temptation is going to be that this is the year. And it's been the year for like 3 or 4 years for them now. And this is how I feel about David De Gea at Manchester United. Unbelievable player. Has gotten them so many points. But at the same time, you start to go, well, it's not about whether or not he's a good player. It's about sort of moving on from the attempt that we had, mending our wounds and moving on for the next thing. Whereas Harry Kane is, no matter what, you go to Champions League next year. If it doesn't work out or the team's not flying in Champions League, you're going to have the same conversations of, is January, is he going to leave in January? He's going to leave at the end of the year. Whereas maybe you could get some money for him and you could whatever. Where I feel like that temptation of a Champions League spot would be the exact thing that makes this team stagnant versus, okay, yeah, Harry Kane in Champions League is for Spurs is better than not having Harry Kane. But it could be the thing you need to make the changes necessary to build for the future.